Hello, hello. This is Elizabeth Busby, and I am the co-director of programs for the Theology of the Body Institute. Today, we are going to be talking about dating versus courting and what that means for you, some practical tips that you can take away for your own discernment of marriage. So I love this question. The fact that you're even asking, the fact that you're even watching this video, I love that. Because what that implies is that you are being intentional with your dating life, with your own discernment of your vocation. It matters to you. You want to figure out how best to define it. You want to figure out what good boundaries, what good guidelines, what good guidance you can have to make this a successful, positive thing for you. So I love that. I think you are totally in the right heart posture to discern marriage well. So right now in our culture, when you even ask the question, what is the difference between dating and courting? I honestly feel like so much of it is semantics. I feel like there are the kind of the definitions of the word, the crispness of what each word means has kind of faded and gotten lost over time. So you have really awesome holy couples who are discerning marriage. They're being very chaste. They're being intentional. They get married. They call it courting. You have very holy couples who are being intentional. They're being chaste. They get married. They're calling it dating. So I think it can be really confusing. What do these two things mean? What should I be doing? Why does it matter? So I'm going to briefly go into kind of some history of the words, and then we're going to apply it to you. So what are some tips you can take away so that you can have a successful discernment of your vocation? Historically, understanding the two words, we have to look at the culture where they were birthed. So courting, as I'm sure you can appreciate, is an older term. It has a very sweet, grandparenty kind of feel to it. And really what happened when a couple was courting is that the parents, the family were very involved, right? So maybe the man would come over to the woman's house, spend an afternoon with the family. They take a little stroll around the garden. They do that a couple times. They get married. It was all very quick, but it was all very marriage focused. And there wasn't a ton of alone time. I think a lot of that kind of came from maybe a more repressive culture of if we leave them alone too long, they'll just have sex. I don't know. But I do think there was a sense of propriety around the actions the people were taking. They were not sleeping together. That was not part of the deal. And they were going towards marriage. Okay. So how did we get from this kind of courting idea to the modern day dating, right? And honestly, a lot of it hinged around the car, the automobile. So before the car became something that people just had, it was very difficult for a man to go fetch a woman and take her somewhere for an extended period of time and bring her back. That just wasn't, really culturally, that wasn't kind of how people recreated. That wasn't how they did leisure, because there wasn't that opportunity for quick trips out, etc. So after World War I, when the soldiers all kind of came back and cars became more accessible, people began to be able to afford them, that's where this modern day idea of going on dates kind of really birthed. Couples were able to, for the first time, really drive off somewhere away from parents, be by themselves, either totally by themselves or like at a cafe, a soda fountain, whatever, by themselves. And they were able to have more intentional, in-depth conversations when lots of people weren't around. So dating lost the goal of marriage. And for a lot of people, it just became something they did. Maybe there was dating for dating's sake, or this is just what I want to be doing on the weekend or whatever. So it has certainly devolved from there to where now it is not uncommon for people to expect sex at the end of a first date, right? They're not necessarily going for marriage, let alone a long-term intentional commitment. There's just this kind of void around what's happening here. And so I think that obviously those things don't necessarily apply from either of them, either extreme, don't always apply to the modern Catholic couple, right? But I think it's important to understand the difference. And when you're using language, really make sure you kind of know where it's coming from so that you can then decide what you want these words to mean. And you can apply those rules and guidelines to your own life. Okay, so now I'm going to give you 3 different things that you can use as kind of guideposts for your own discernment of marriage. The first one is make sure that you are ready to get married. It's on your horizon somewhere. I think that if you're not ready to get married for whatever reason, there are tons of reasons why someone could not be ready to get married, but if you're not ready to get married, then I think you're setting yourself up you can be setting yourself up for some heartbreak if you get into a committed relationship with someone, but don't necessarily have that end goal in mind. So when you are discerning marriage, when you get into a committed relationship with someone, there are only two ways out of it. Either you get married or you break up. And I don't know about you, I hate breakups. They're awful. They're the worst. So being very intentional about making sure once you get into the relationship, you're in it for that end goal of figuring out if you want to marry the person. That will go a long way to preserving you from a lot of this casual vibe that comes around this current dating culture. So making sure that you in your heart are oriented toward marriage, that you are ready to kind of pursue that goal is a good first one. Number 2, make sure you're spending time with other people. It can be so tempting when you're in a new relationship, when you have all these yummy, exciting feelings, these good biological feelings given to you by God to draw you to the other person. Those are great, but it can be so tempting to just be focused on the other person that you exclude the wider community. And it's good to spend time with other people. It's good for your discernment to see the person you're with interacting with other people. It's good for you to see them interacting with your family. I mean, the reality is one day, if you're called to marriage, you'll be their family. So if they're nasty to their mom and their grandmother and their younger sister, but they're really, really kind and sweet to you, it's really reasonable to think that when you become their family and all those yummy feelings go away and it's just a normal Tuesday, that they may treat you the way that they treat them also. So being sure, not always, not all the time, and if you notice them being nasty to family members, that's absolutely something to talk about with them. I'm not saying like go home from a Sunday dinner and break up. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that all of these things are very helpful in your discernment and are able to help you to figure out if this person's a good fit for you. So make sure you're spending time around other people. You can go on one-on-one dates. Just make sure that you're also balancing that with time spent in the community with each other's families, etc. And the last thing is that it's so important to practice chastity. And I paused a little when I said that because I think most people watch these videos and are like, duh, of course they're talking about chastity again, sigh. But in reality, it's one of the most liberating things, practicing chastity. And here's why. Chastity, yes, does mean abstinence when you're not married. However, what chastity really is the integration of your sexuality within your person. There are going to be lots of times in your life, even if you are called to marriage, where you need to be able to practice that sexual self-control. You need to be able to practice that chastity. Yes, when you're married, sometimes it means generosity. Often it means generosity, that gift of self in the sexual embrace. But sometimes it means abstinence also. So it's not just this bummer negative thing. Chastity is working and practicing that ability to give of yourself in ways that aren't just sexual. And so when you're in a committed relationship and you're discerning marriage and you're not yet married, yes, the thing that upholds your dignity is to not have sex, but properly, maybe not properly, positively kind of reframed, it's the opportunity to practice using your self-control, to practice loving the other person without the need to just have sex with them, to show them, to kind of communicate that. It's making sure that your relationship is following the appropriate guidelines and boundaries that uphold your dignity and using those opportunities to practice and grow in that self-control. So, again, whether you call what you're doing dating or courting, making sure that you have the principle of intentionality, that commitment-oriented posture, that it's not just something that you're doing like on a whim and for fun, but that when you're in the relationship, you are moving in a direction, making sure that you are in a place where you could see yourself getting married at some point in the future, making sure that you're spending time not just with the person, but with family and friends and the broader community, and also that you're practicing chastity, authentic, life-giving, beautiful chastity, the ability to integrate your sexuality within the person and live from that life-giving place of love. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe below so you can be kept up to date on all of the exciting things that the Theology of the Body Institute is doing. I'm so excited that I'm going to be a new presenter on this YouTube channel. So if dating, marriage, discerning marriage, those sorts of things are your jam and you're interested in more things specifically toward that, please like and subscribe so you can know when I post another video. Bye!